On stardate 70437.4, during a debate over whether to send more ships to fight the Gorn, tensions rose to a boiling point. Infuriated by Jimpok's jibes and threats, Martok expels Jimpok from the High Council and orders his lands and titles seized. The House of Jimpok would be dissolved. Martok's decree only serves to further divide the council between followers of Martok and Jimpok, and both sides begin preparing for war. Fighting breaks out between the groups in the streets of Kronos, and reports of ship crews splitting into factions begin filtering back to the Klingon command. Remembering the damage caused by the Civil War after Chancellor Kempek's death, Martok tells advisors that he is going to try to find a resolution with Jimpok that will end the conflict. On stardate 70669.8, he orders Jimpok to meet with him at the Great Hall. Martok orders his bodyguards, the Yan Isleth, to guard the doors and allow no one to disturb them. 2 hours later, Jimpok opens the door of the council chamber and announces that Martok is dead and that he is now Chancellor of the Klingon Empire. Drax, son of Martok, challenges Jimpok, accusing him of murdering Martok in dishonorable combat. However, Drax is seen by most as callow and unworthy of taking up his father's mantle. Buvat, the arbiter of succession, rejects his claims. Undaunted, Drax claims the right of vengeance and challenges Jimpok to combat. Drax is severely injured in the ensuing battle, but Jimpok declines to kill him. Other challenges to Jimpok's claim quickly fade away, and his claim to the position of the Chancellor is ratified by the High Council. The regime change in the Klingon Empire is a major cause for concern for the Federation, and the President Okeg recalls Ambassador Worf to Earth for consultations. Ultimately, the Federation decides to take a wait-and-see approach, welcoming Jimpok and invite him to meet with the Federation at his earliest convenience. Jimpok sends word through an intermediary that while he appreciates Okeg's offer, affairs on the homeworld will keep him occupied for some time. The rapid rise of a new Chancellor for the Klingon High Council has thrown the Empire's relations with the Federation and other major powers into doubt. Whether you loved or hated Martok, he was a known quantity. We simply do not know enough about Jimpok, said Starfleet spokesperson Commander Marie Durand. Strained relations between the Federation and the Klingon Empire have made gathering detailed information about the current political situation in Kronos difficult. The task is complicated by the fact that one of the Jimpok's first acts was to bar the Federation's ambassador from the Great Hall. Ambassador Worf is a member of the House of Martok and was one of Martok's staunchest supporters. What is known is that tensions had been rising between Martok and Jimpok for some time. Jimpok and his followers on the council accused Martok of being a weak leader and a puppet for the Federation interests. They questioned his close ties to Worf, as well as Martok's willingness to negotiate with the Gorn. In return, Martok's supporters accused Jimpok of acting dishonorably and undermining the actions of Martok and the Klingon Defense Force during a time of war. Happier news for the Federation is the formal admission of Bajor and Tama Prime as full members. The long process of acclimating the planet's economies and populations to life in the Federation begins, although this process is eased somewhat in Bajor's case because of the close ties Bajor has had with the Federation since the end of the Cardassian occupation in 2369. One notable exception to the conversion is Quark's Bar, Grill, Gaming House, Holosuite Arcade, Gift Shop and Embassy on Deep Space Nine. As a formal embassy for the Ferengi Alliance, it's business as usual at Quark's. Being the best place for free trade in the Bajor sector brings a significant increase in traffic to Quark's, and the owner is said to be in the market for a move. In one of their first ventures as Federation citizens, the children of Tama work with Starfleet to open a new linguistic research facility on Eladrel 4. Dathon and Picard at Eladrel. Picard, his heart open, said co-director Melta at the facility's dedication. While doing a stellar survey near 2466 p.m., The USS Stargazer A is contacted by an entity claiming to be from the Metron Consortium. If this being's claim was correct, it would be the first contact the Federation has had with the Metrons since 2267. The being agreed to tour the ship, met with Captain Roma Giordano, and said that while the younger races were still unready for contact, they have made progress. The legal fight for civil rights for artificial lifeforms hits a snag over the hologram known as Moriarty. Alerted to its existence in a Starfleet computer, the Sung Foundation sues to have the program released in its custody. Attorneys for Starfleet argue that Moriarty and his companion are a security risk and that the program's attempt to take over the USS Enterprise D in 2369 allows Starfleet to keep it in indefinite custody to protect the public. That's just imprisonment without a trial. Since when did Starfleet turn into the Obsidian Order? Argues Alyssa Cogley-Shaw, lead attorney for the Sung Foundation. The Cardassians take a major step towards self-sufficiency when the Tapa Council member Nitima Lang strikes an agreement with Premium leader General Lorix. Lorix agrees to sell the lithium and heavy metal ores to the Cardassians, which allows them to drastically expand their production of ships and warp drives. By the end of the year, the Cardassians are using Ferengi brokers to sell ships including the Type 5 commercial laboratory throughout the Alpha Quadrant. The increase in ship production leads to more commercial traffic in and out of the Septimus system, where Gul Madred owns several large mining operations. Claiming that his mines have been attacked by raiders and that the Cardassian Defense Force cannot adequately protect Cardassian citizens, Madred contracts Lamat Ukan, leader of the Jem'Hara in the Alpha Quadrant. Lamat Ukan sends troops to protect Madred's mines over the protests of the Cardassian government, which sees the presence of the Jem'Hara as a threat. Madred argues that hiring private security to protect his property and employees is his right as a business owner, and that if the Jem'Hara do not break laws or threaten Cardassian citizens, it is none of the Tapas Council's concern. In Romulan space, the Romulan Colonial Organization Committee continues the work of forming our new Romulan government. Several legislative sessions are interrupted by the arguments between the General Taris and General Tebok about what the role of the Romulan military should be. Tebok sways a portion of the RCOC with his argument that far-flung areas of the Empire, particularly the areas near Klingon space, can and should be sacrificed in the short term to strengthen the position of what they are now the Romulan core worlds, but Taris says that it is their duty to keep fighting for every world. Debate takes up much of the later part of the year for the RCOC, but no decision is reached.